I'm going to have to do another welcome, another intro. Haha, we are live. This also could have been a good Facebook Live, maybe, right? But we're not going to worry about that now. Yeah, so we just jumped onto YouTube because I want to see if any of my YouTube friends, if any of our friends on YouTube want to jump on and join the conversation. Okay. All right. So here's what I'm going to tell you. This is the story that I have. I'm working with a student band. Suddenly, kind of last minute, a song gets cast for the band to cover. Um, and we have about a week away from the show. The reason why this particular song is cast is probably because one of the students chose it. They know it well, and I will say they do know it very well, and it's very cool. The song is Tom Sawyer by Rush. Now, so the funny part was that we were like, oh, well, we're going to cast this song, and who's going to be able to learn it? Can any of the students learn it in like a week? Yes, and I certainly have a couple that most likely can. You know, will they be able to, given their schedules? I don't know, but I think most likely I have a couple that can. In fact, I put out a fun little challenge to two of said students who can learn it better in time for the next rehearsal. But anyway, let's take it back to me because of course it is all about me. Um, okay, of course it's all about me. So somebody suggested that I play the song, right? With my student band, which I've been known to do, and I love it. But my response uh, to this suggestion was, I went like this. I get a lot of money to play drums, which was the joke. But my next response was, no, I don't want to do it. Why don't you want to do it? Because I hate that song. And my students, when I told them I hate that song, their eyes lit up. What? How could you hate that song? I said, it's nothing against the song. I said, but literally, I have literally heard this song a million times. Look at me. This is, look how old I am. That song came out when I was developing myself musically and my musical tastes. And this band, Rush, was huge when I was younger, when I was like in my early to mid teens. And so, yeah, that's all I heard. That's all I heard. So, couple that with the fact that all these years later, that's still probably one of the top songs that a young drummer is going to want to learn. So add that to the equation of me being a teacher for the last 12 years or so, and working on this song with students, um, and then working in bands and having some of the bands play that song. So my answer was simple. I've heard the song over a million times. It's really a song that I would be really, I would be happy, let's say okay with. I would be okay with it if I never heard that song again. And that might sound crazy. I know friends of mine who are still hardcore Rush fans. I'm a big fan of the band. I think they did amazing things. Um, and I could still listen back on some of their music and be like, this is great stuff. And it's all pretty great stuff. So it's nothing against the band. It's just that I've reached my saturation point with Tom Sawyer and a lot of other Rush songs. I've reached my saturation point. I can no longer intake any more Rush music into my into my being. And I know I have a friend who's gonna see this at some point, who is one of those people who is one of those people who is still a huge Rush fan. And I joke with him about this all the time. And he calls me names because I make fun of Rush, because I know it irks him a little bit. But he's going to see this and he's probably going to get a laugh out of it. But I can no longer accept any Rush music into my being. And I think that's the best way I could put it. So if there's anybody out there who has a song like that, and I have a few more, believe me, because after that exchange with my students last night, I thought about it. And I said, wow, I wonder how many of these songs actually exist for me. And I thought it would be a fun question to put out there to any of you out there who follow the channel. And if you're not here live, that's fine. But, I would love to hear your opinion. So that's one of them. That's actually a big one. And again, only because of the fact that I've heard it so many times. Now, the other part of the equation with that particular song is that every drummer who grew up hearing that song has at one point or another attempted to play it, or attempted to learn it, attempted to, see if they can play it, right? That's almost like one of those, a watermark that you reach in your progression as a drummer. Like if you could play that song, wow, okay, you've taken a step. And that's awesome, right? Because, and it's awesome for Neil Peart to have created a song and a drum track like that so many drummers will try to emulate or aspire to, or use it as a benchmark. Can I play this song? I did it on my channel, on my YouTube channel not too long ago. And, and I put the question out there, can I play this like Neil? And, you could be the judge. Doesn't matter. Go ahead and check it out. But it was a fun time. But, and then here's the other part too. I want to make it very clear that I am super happy that song is still kicking around. And not just kicking around. That song is still very prominent in music today because of the internet, because of how young people can experience music now in so many different ways, in so many different places, through movies, television, video games, all kinds of things. There's so much music out there that is, let's call it vintage music that is available on the internet and so many various platforms that these young people can experience. And it always makes me smile when I hear a young person come up to me with a song that they've just discovered that's like a Sweet Home Alabama, or, something that is from my childhood. And I go, oh yeah. And they ask me, oh, do you know this song? I'm like, do I know this song? Yeah, I sure do. So I love that about the whole situation, right? So whereas I may come off a certain way, I really love the fact that young people have so much exposure to so much great music, because there's not, there's music that's created today that really gets the push, but somehow, some way, through their parents, maybe through friends, or through, like I said, the internet, video games, movies, TV, things like that, these kids are still able to hear music that's not being pushed like today's music is being pushed. That's not being marketed everywhere. That's not being, used everywhere. That's not a TikTok trend, but they're able to find these songs. And that's just a testament to their love and passion about music, and I love that. So don't get me wrong. So that's the first one. Let me see, what's another one? Stairway to Heaven. If you live where I live, all right? If you live in New York, specifically Long Island, New York, you know of a radio station, which again is still kicking hard, right? Still out there doing it like they've always done it. WBAB. Awesome. As a matter of fact, Not too long ago on the Drinking with Friends podcast, we had JP from WBAB on the show, and he was an awesome guest. But that's a radio station that plays classic rock, and classic rock like Stairway to Heaven on rotation. I haven't listened in forever because I've had satellite radio for so long. But I'm pretty sure Stairway to Heaven is still in the rotation. Probably, a couple of times an hour, that song is going to be played. So that's another song that if I never heard it again, and then again, it's a great song. If I never heard it again, I'd be just fine with it. I'd be okay with that. And here's a great example of what I'm talking about my students. I was just joking with one of my students about his cable management because he plugged a guitar in, really talented young man. He plugged a guitar in to jam on one of the songs in the band. And halfway through the guitar cable, there was a ball of cable like this. Like I've never seen a tangle. Like it was like a giant tennis ball of cable right in the middle. So I'm like, oh, nice cable management. But anyway, so when I went to perform with one of my other student bands, I saw a band that I recently worked with, and I love them. They're great. They're called Broken Nails. They're actually playing out in the real world outside of the educational bubble, right? Outside of the school, they're actually booking gigs and playing live shows to audiences, which is amazing. I think they're like 15 across the board, and they're doing great, and they're sounding great. You can check them out on Instagram, Broken Nails New York or NY, I think. But anyway, they played Paranoid by Black Sabbath. That might be the number one song that if I never heard again in my life, I wouldn't miss it. I wouldn't miss it. It wouldn't make one bit of difference to me. If you told me today you're going to live to be 92, and in that time you will never again hear Paranoid, I'd be like, okay. So those are the big three for me. Tom Sawyer, Paranoid. I think Paranoid's number one. Absolutely has to be number one. By the way, they killed it. They did a great job playing it. They had a lot of fun playing it. And that's why I have a lot of fun telling my students that I hate this song or I hate that song. Because they may have just discovered it and love it. And that's the great part about it, is that it's new to them. So then go ahead and cover it, play the heck out of it, have a great time, kick butt. It's new to you. Enjoy it as much as possible. I can no longer enjoy that song. I just cannot. It may be that way for a couple of, like Iron Man 2. But has to be hands down number one, Paranoid by Black Sabbath. I thought it was Tom Sawyer, but I'm going to say Tom Sawyer is a close second. Paranoid, Black Sabbath, number one all time. If I never heard it again, I'd be happy. Stairway to Heaven, which is, again, a great song. I don't ever have to hear it again. I've reached maximum saturation. All right. If you guys have any suggestions or not suggestions, but opinions, what are your songs that are your absolute songs that you could never hear again and be happy? Reach out to me on any of my socials, MarkZDrums, on Instagram, on YouTube, Zapata Drums, on Facebook, TikTok, Twitch, and of course Patreon. If you want to check out my Patreon and see what the perks are for becoming a patron or a member in the club, the MarkZDrums Club, then go ahead over to my Patreon at MarkZDrums. Check it out. There are stickers, folks. You're going to love these stickers. And you will have the ability to request a drum cover. And yes, my patrons out there, I'm getting to them one at a time. They're coming. Believe me, they're coming. And I will see you guys next time on the MarkZDrumcast. Thanks for tuning in. And that's it for me today. It is a Wednesday, a beautiful Wednesday. And I will see you guys on Friday.